Sarah Chen had worked at the city library for 6 years. She knew every corner, every shelf, every squeaky floorboard. But on a cold Tuesday morning in November, she found something that changed everything. It was hidden inside an old book, a book that nobody had borrowed in 14 years. The note was written in neat, small handwriting. If you're reading this, then I was right. Look at the painting on the 3rd floor. Count the windows. Then find me before they do. There was no name, no date, just those 3 sentences and a strange drawing of a clock showing 11:55. Sarah looked around the empty library. The doors wouldn't open to the public for another hour. She was completely alone. She told herself it was probably a joke, a bored teenager maybe. But her hands were shaking as she folded the note and put it in her pocket. She couldn't explain why, but she felt like someone was watching her. The 3rd floor of the library was used for storage. Most people didn't even know it existed. Sarah took the old elevator up and stepped into the dusty silence. There was only one painting on that floor. She had walked past it 100 times without really looking at it. A dark oil painting of a city at night. No artist name, no title. Sarah counted the windows in the painting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 11. 11 windows. She stared at the painting. 11 windows, and one of them had a small light on inside. Just one. And in that tiny lit window, barely visible, was the shape of a person looking out. Sarah leaned closer. The person in the painting was holding something. A sign? A piece of paper? She took out her phone and used the camera to zoom in. Her blood went cold. The tiny figure in the painting was holding a note that said, "Help." Sarah went back downstairs and searched the library's records on her computer. The book where she found the note, Atlas of Forgotten Cities, had only ever been borrowed by one person. His name was Daniel Marsh. He had borrowed the book on March 3rd, 2010, and returned it 1 week later. That was the last time anyone had touched it. Sarah searched his name online. Daniel Marsh, 34 years old, had been a journalist. He had worked for a local newspaper, writing investigative stories about corruption in the city government. Then, in 2011, he disappeared. The police had investigated. There were no clues, no body, no explanation. The case was eventually closed. The official conclusion? Daniel Marsh had left the city voluntarily. But his family never believed that. Sarah read the last article written about his disappearance. At the bottom, one of the comments, posted 8 years ago, caught her eye. It was from someone called M. Marsh, probably his sister. The comment said, "My brother did not run away. He was getting too close to the truth. If anyone finds anything at all, please contact me." Sarah sat very still for a moment. Then she started typing. Maya Marsh arrived at the library just before closing time. She was a quiet woman in her early 40s, with tired eyes that had clearly spent years looking for answers. Sarah showed her everything: the note, the painting, the library records. Maya's face turned pale. "He told me about this place," she whispered. "He said if anything happened to him, he had left a message somewhere safe, somewhere that powerful people wouldn't think to look." She paused. A library. "What was he investigating?" Sarah asked. Maya looked at her carefully, as if deciding how much to trust her. Then she reached into her bag and pulled out a photograph, old and slightly damaged. It showed 4 men standing in front of the city's old town hall. Sarah recognized 2 of them immediately. One was a former mayor. The other was the current chief of police. Daniel found evidence that these men were involved in illegal construction contracts, Maya said quietly. Millions of dollars. He was about to publish the story when he disappeared. Sarah stared at the photograph. "Why are you showing me this?" she asked. Maya looked at her with those exhausted eyes. "Because my brother trusted this library, and because I've been carrying this alone for 13 years. She stopped. "And because the chief of police is still in power." The library was completely silent. Outside, a car slowly drove past the window and stopped. "We need to leave," Maya said suddenly, standing up. "Wait," Sarah said. Her mind was working fast. The note mentioned a clock, 11:55. Does that mean anything? Maya froze. Slowly, she sat back down. "The old clock tower," she said, "behind town hall. Daniel used to say that's where the city hides its secrets, right in front of everyone, where nobody thinks to look." Sarah grabbed her coat. "Then that's where we go." "It's dangerous," Maya said. "I know," Sarah replied. "But your brother hid that note because he wanted someone to find it someday. He wanted someone to finish what he started." She looked at Maya directly. 13 years is long enough. 3 months later, the chief of police resigned. An independent investigation was opened. It was national news. Nobody could explain exactly how the evidence came to light, only that it had been hidden for over a decade, waiting patiently in a book that nobody read, inside a library that never closes. Sarah still works at the library. She still knows every corner, every shelf, every squeaky floorboard. But now, when she walks past a book that hasn't been touched in years, she always stops. She always checks inside.